off a table? What am I, sometimes a savage?
First of all, yes, you are a savage, and second of all, everybody eats chicken from a table.
Yeah, what person
Amongst
doesn't eat
other
chicken from
areas. What are you talking
You
about?
have you
A
technicality.
savage would be chicken over a sink. Like you're over a sink and you're eating it.
I have eaten that last piece of chicken over the food garbage.
Well, that's a savage. That's 100%.
Maybe that's savage.
I think going to medieval times is savagery.
Yeah, but it's a hell of a good show, isn't it?
It's more like a Ren Fair.
I've actually never been. I've never been to medieval time. Never.
It's an enjoyable experience.
No.
It's an enjoyable experience.
No.
I went for a buddy's bachelor party. It was good times.
Wait, what? Somebody's bachelor party was medieval.
It was part
times?
of
was medieval times.
It
and
was
strippers. It was crazy.
First it started off with baseball, then it started medieval times, then it went to it was like a whole day of like.
Were naked women involved?
Eventually.
I don't believe you. I think you guys all went to Center Island and sang songs on a campfire. It sounds like.
Rob, you're just jealous. You want to go on a tandem bike with me? Just say it out loud. You want to go on a tandem bike with me?
No,
come on.
Tandem tricycle.
Can you rent those?
The tandem bikes are not fun, by the way. Mistakes were made. You never want to go on a tandem bike with anyone because if you don't pedal at the same speed, it doesn't move.
Invariably, one person doesn't wear shorts. That's the problem.
Yeah.
That's a whole separate problem. So aside from cool medieval times and strippers and bachelor parties, sounds like a good time.
Hey everybody!
Hey everybody! So welcome to the Sidekick Show, where we're just talking random stuff. We knew it was recording, right? It gave us that unique warning message, or does this program not have that?
No, we don't. That's Zoom.
Whoa, the magic is still there.
We're recording? What?
Yeah, we've got all the incriminating evidence, and we'll store it on a USB drive that is accessed through a weird ring.
I can't believe you went to medieval times for John's bachelor party and ended up at Zanzibar, Stu. That's just crazy.
No, you bring the strippers to medieval times, and they have to fit the theme.
Like that, John.
You can't. You don't have paper money. You have a metal coin
I don't
bags.
think you're missing the part where the falconry comes in the effect. There's a falconer who does falconry.
Right.
That's a big part of the show. I don't think you understand how awesome falconry is.
I don't.
I like how you keep calling falconry. It's bird. It's controlling a bird, right?
It's called falconry. It's called. If you have a falcon, it's called falconry. Yes.
I would be more impressed if it was a seagull or some common robin that you find outside.
You can't train.
Think about it. Exactly. That's why it's so much more impressive.
It's like trying to ride a zebra, John. It's impossible. You cannot ride a zebra.
That's a challenge.
One of the main
folks.
reasons in the book, Guns, Steel, and Germs, that the Southern Hemisphere was not able to domesticate the animals and thus create the machinery and able to domesticate the animals and thus move their society to a new age. It's the difference between the European and South American divide.
We've legit gone from 8 viewers to 5. 3 people have dropped off, being like, "This is ridiculous. What's happening?"
It's an excellent book, John. You should. It's this thick, but it's fantastic.
Okay. Well, do you guys remember Karateka? And you would fight the bad guy, and you have the falcon on his shoulder, and then he would send that falcon to you, and you would have to do that little kick and kick it away. But yeah, that's for you old school video game fans. Karateka.
This is really funny. Fraser's talking about how he knew the head knight. And he goes, "It was my family doctor's son. I had my family doctor. His son was also a knight at medieval times. I'm almost done.
Maybe it's the same person. Can you say the first name and maybe Fraser can confirm it?
The doctor's first name? The doctor's first name was Andrew.
Oh, Fraser. Maybe he can confirm this. We know it's a bit of a time delay, but
small world. Yeah. All right.
And if it's not, what does that say about doctors' sons who were going to medieval times?
well, they're set because their family is like doctors, so they're good for money. So they're like chasing their dreams of being the head knight of medieval times, which sounds like a hell of a fun gig. I would definitely sign up for that.
Yes. Fraser and I have the same doctor.
That is a connection, folks.
On Kennedy, in a small little house on Kennedy Road between Shepherd and Finch, Or
Small
I guess
world.
Battlefield.
What a time to be alive. Small world.
Right.
That's awesome.
All right.
All right. It is a small world, and welcome everybody. Let's get it rolling. So for new releases, I'm gonna leave most of that up to Andre. I will mention that we do post it up on our Instagram and Facebook, all the new comic books and stuff like that. I usually try to whip up a really cheesy, funny graphic. So this is Trial of Magneto, featured on our new release list for this week, October. No, it's not October yet. It is August 18th, is what I want to say. So keep an eye out for that. Lots of good titles coming out. New Daredevil. What else is on here? Oh no, sorry, Daredevil was last week.
You have one job. It's what's
no,
new
I don't.
this week. That's it.
Okay, yeah. Anyways, I'm gonna pass it along to Rob, whose one job is to scour the internets for news. And go ahead.
I only have one thing. Now, yeah, I got some news for you guys. And obviously, we're not going to cover everything because we do that in Hey, What Did I Miss on Thursdays. And if you joined us last week, you would realize at least the difference between this week and last week is as I'm speaking, the audio is matching the video as opposed to last week, where it was a nice 1 minute time delay. So that was fun. So I got news for you guys. Hey, Stu and John, did you watch Free Guy, Ryan Reynolds' massive box office hit this past weekend?
That is correct. Yes.
And did you and Stu, John? I know you saw it. Did you enjoy it?
Yeah, we had a blast.
Yeah. Would you like to have a sequel?
I question how it fits.
Did I not send out that link, Rob, that you were talking to? Yes.
Actually, I originally sent that out the other day. But yes, Ryan Reynolds put a tweet out that Disney executives have pretty much called him, told him, hey, let's make another one. So yeah, we're gonna have a new another Free Guy movie will be made at some point in the next couple of years, I'm assuming. That being said, I would really like it if he maybe did that after Deadpool 3 for Marvel. That'd be really nice if they could do that instead, but we shall see. We're going to talk about Titans. Now, I know we don't get Titans up in Canada unless you're using some type of VPN service. However, Titans season 3 is currently airing on HBO Max in the US, and one of the cast members is playing the Scarecrow. It's Vincent Carthusier, who, if you're like, who the hell is that? He was Pete from Mad Men. He was Pete, the kind of douchebag ad executive who ended up losing all of his hair towards the end of the season. But nevertheless, he's playing the Scarecrow. Well, you may not recognize or have understood that because he's been absent from all of the promotion material. And that's because the dude got naughty on the set. He was actually investigated twice by Warner Brothers, version of HR, with respect to misconduct. He had some allegations levied against him from other cast members with in regards to jokes, inappropriateness, maybe some I don't think there's anything physical. I don't know, but it was enough that he had 2 different misconduct investigations levied against him. So that's pretty, I think that's pretty significant. I mean, maybe people don't really care about who the actor is, but the fact that Warner Brothers is doing this investigation and has been pretty open about it, I guess one could say this might just be a bit of the reverberation of what happened with the Ray Fisher stuff with DC and Josh Whedon's Justice League. Talking comics, Brian Michael Bendis. Now, last week we talked about the fact that some of these creators, James Tynion and Jonathan Hickman and Scott Snyder, were taking their talents to Substack and Comixology, respectively. Well, Brian Michael Bendis said he had an announcement coming up. And admittedly, I think I had maybe also stoked a flame saying, I wonder if he's going to Substack. But he's not yet. He is, however, taking his own imprint, Jinx World, from DC, and he's taking it over to Dark Horse Comics. Stu, is this like a huge industry-changing ripple event that we're witnessing here with Jinx World migrating from the pages of DC over to Dark Horse?
No, I think it's substandard fare in terms of the industry. He probably pre-negotiated with Dark Horse in terms of provisioning and rights and IP. So I just foresee that there are going to be some of these smaller comic houses who would be like, hey, just come here. You keep the IP. We'll print it. We'll put it on our brand and give us the first right of refusal, maybe. If it does go, then it'll be under the Dark Horse umbrella and just more publicity. I can see them, either that or Boom Studios or another one of those smaller comic houses to, they can't traditionally get these writers and to work on their books. So if it is come on board, and then if it turns into something useful, we'll put our logo in front of it, brand recognition, but you keep the IP. Then maybe what happens for the next 10 years, and then inevitably it'll switch to the person just holding the IP itself. I think the days of Mark Millar selling all his portfolio for a big boatload of money is gone. I think we've seen already that doesn't always work out. So I think this makes sense, and it'll be property, and then, or just like everyone else, first right of refusal or a first run deal, whether it's Ryan Reynolds through Paramount, I think that's, or Universal, I think that's what it is, or whatnot. So this makes sense. They're gonna. If I was Dark Horse, I'd be handshakes all around.
John, what does this mean for Bendis with DC?
No, this is what Bendis does. So I believe this probably means his contract with DC or any type of exclusivity contract is up, because basically all this Jinx World stuff was under the Image imprint when Bendis was Image's Golden Boy. He then took it to Marvel under the Icon line, which turned into, I think, Jinx World. So he basically just, whenever he's done playing, he takes his ball with him and goes to whatever he's gonna do. So you know what, I actually quite enjoy a lot of those older books, Jinx, Goldfish, and all that kind of stuff. But they've kind of been missing from the limelight. So maybe it's a chance for it to resurge when it hits Dark Horse. Now they'll go back and print. Everyone will be like, whoa, was this new? It's not new. It's like his first work from way back. I don't know if he could pull the years of when Jinx and Goldfish and all that stuff came out, but it's probably a decade plus. So it'll be neat if that stuff starts to see the light of day. Like if Stu says, if someone is going to option a Jinx TV show, even though basically if you've read Alias kind of, he took a lot of his stuff from Jinx, put it into the Alias book, into the Jessica Jones character. So it'll be weird if he kind of backtracks, but you never know.
Okay, cool. So we're gonna move on to I got two movie news items here. So do you want to hear the one that's gonna make you laugh, the one that it's gonna make you go
cry?
We gotta go first.
Okay, so
you gotta laugh last.
The one that goes is about Shang-Chi. Right now, as we are speaking, it is the world premiere of Shang-Chi happening down in Hollywood, I believe.
Is it the Man's Chinese Theater?
I don't think they call it that anymore. I think it's now the Kodak Theater. I think the Man's Chinese Theater is no longer referred to. I think it's the Kodak Theater or something else now. I don't know. Anyways, but that's where it is. But the world premiere is happening today, and the social media embargo lifts tonight. So boys and girls, get your sleepies, and in the morning you scratch your eyes and go online into Twitter, and you'll get to see the social media embargo. Next Monday evening, I believe, is when the actual full embargo lifts on the reviews. So I'm sure that we'll be talking about this potentially later this week and maybe into next week, or the social media reactions for Shang-Chi. Are you guys expecting some positive thoughts coming out of tonight's premiere?
100%. They wouldn't do it if typically in the Marvel stuff, they give this much type of runway because they expect that it's going to be good. So I can't anticipate. It's not like some of the DC properties that wait a full 24 hours. Remember, we waited, like the day before we heard about G.I. Joe Snake Eyes Origins. Like normally if it's a bomb, they hold out to the very end until they
sometimes they don't even have critic reactions. They wait until after it's opened, or you have to pay for it to see it.
I heard a lot of the reviewers were complaining specifically about Shang-Chi, is that they were complaining that the screenings were difficult. It's like they were not sending digital in any shape or form, and they were forcing people to the movie theater. So people were, of course, complaining about that. It's like, why we have to go to the movie theater? Couldn't we just get a digital copy? And Marvel's like, nope, you got to go. So if you want to see it, you got to show up to the theater. So I anticipate I don't think there will be a backlash to say it's boo, but I expect people to say boo earns. And that will be it.
John?
Boo or boo earns? Yeah, the Suicide Squad reviews dropped, a week before its release? And now we're 2 weeks before Shang-Chi's release. So I guess like Steve said, if they're dropping it this much earlier, then it typically would be a good sign.
Yeah, what usually happens is you see that the social media review goes up, like embargo lifts on a Monday, and then the full review embargo lifts on like a Thursday. They're doing a full week for social media, and I'm not really, maybe they'll adjust it based on how things go over the next 24 hours. But yeah, to Stu's point, we are 2 weeks, September the 3rd is when it opens, right? So we're 2.5 weeks away from this thing dropping. So
I think it's all about the narrative. Now social media, the things are going on. We've learned and we've talked about it several times. When you do a big data dump and everything comes at once, you get lost in the conversation. Yeah. Marvel's really good. Their social media team is probably talking about the narrative of releasing it slowly. They're just commanding the conversation. And if they do some of the embargo tomorrow, and then that kind of percolates for a couple of days, and then another drop on Monday, it just extends the conversation and extends just the hype. To Simon, who I think we all like because he's a Toronto guy, but in terms of his challenge to push people to go to the movie theater, that may be the best pushing and shoving thing possible, where even you mentioned before about we are not an experiment to get people to go to the theaters to watch it. It may help their favor just in terms of a release number, but again, it will be really interesting to see, because I think Disney is throwing the next couple movies to the dogs and see how things go, because if it doesn't go well for Shang-Chi, then my goodness, what's going to happen to the Eternals?
Yeah, when did we get Black Widow reviews? Does anyone remember that? Like I'm sure we got
it before.
Reviews out the gate.
Yeah, we got that about a week before, though. It was about a week or so we got that before. Yeah, because it was digital, right? So they were sending all the digital stuff out. So we'll see. And finally, John is a huge Adam Sandler fan, but no
Sandman.
No property gets him tickled more pink than when
Are you gonna say Happy Gilmore?
Hotel Transylvania. He is a mark for Hotel Transylvania. And John confided in me that he can't wait for Hotel Transylvania 4 because he just wants to laugh and laugh and laugh. And John, I know you were all excited to get your tickets. Unfortunately, buddy, Paramount has pulled it from its schedule and is now negotiating with Amazon to dump it on Amazon, much like they did with Coming to America. And selling it, Coming to America 2, and selling it to Amazon Prime for them to view. So, John, I apologize that that's not going to be viewed for you, but Paramount also made another decision today, John, and this is the final story. It looks like somebody actually, spoiled it for me, John. Paramount were like looking, they were doing their let me add the 1 and plus a 6, and oh shit, we made no money on Snake Eyes. So what they're doing is, instead of the 45-day window, they're dropping it on your premium video on demand, your rental service of choice tomorrow.
a no notice drop.
A no notice drop.
Yeah. I read the article. It's like tomorrow. I'm like, whoa.
Yeah. So what generally happens is, has happened based on this new model, is that they had a 45-day window, exclusive window between theater to going on video on demand. Paramount, as you know, has their Paramount Plus network, which is what they did with Quiet Place Part 2. They were going to drop it. That would have been mid-September. I guess they haven't made enough money to try to justify their costs, so they're throwing it on a rental. What does this mean for their Paramount Plus streaming in the next month? I have no idea. I'm assuming it's still going to go forward. If they can get a couple extra $1 million, I'm assuming that's what they're going to do. But yes, if you were dying to see Snake Eyes, the G.I. Joe origin movie, and you were like, man, I just don't want to go to a theater, well, I'm very, very happy for you. You'll be able to watch it tomorrow on your premium video streaming service of choice. Be it Apple.
Maybe they'll drop it early. Maybe it'll be up by 11 p.m. tonight. You can watch it before you go to bed.
I got 3 words for you. Who gives a shit? Oh, wait. That's 4 words. It doesn't matter if it's today, tomorrow. You know what? I'm going to wait. A Quiet Place Part 2 came out 45 days later. It hit Paramount Plus, and in Canada, it hit Amazon Prime. I'm kind of hoping we're going to get the same thing with G.I. Joe Snake Eyes. I'll watch it on Prime. I would not pay a rental to see this.
I can tell you right now, Rob, you're missing nothing. So don't worry about it.
There we go. See?
I saw it. It wasn't bad. I got Steve in the comments talking about the shaky camera, a little too close for the action. Yes, that is a problem with this movie. It does shine in the area of throwing a lot of people on screen. Same action choreography as Rurouni Kenshin. So there's a lot of guys with swords. and one guy fighting multiple dudes, which does work in that movie. But yeah, it's got its own set of problems. Which
the only
I
time
guess maybe we'll cover it now that it's digital.
It doesn't get over the fact that Snake Eyes is a jerk, and the problem is the whole movie is just like you're just going there like, really?
He's a good guy.
Just gonna let this happen? He's a good guy jerk.
You know, the only time a wobbly cam is accepted is if you're watching adult entertainment, and aside from that, there should be no wobbly cam.
Whoa! Let's the Firstborn Identity. It was good shaky cam. It was good shaky cam.
Shaky cam and wobbly cams are two different things.
Are they? What is the precise difference? Rob doesn't know. What? All right, and we'll keep going.
John's like, I don't want hand gestures on the show. Stop doing that. Stop. Hey guys, that's all I got for your news for today.
All right. Anyways, all right. Thank you very much.
John, before we go, your boy, Jenny Tartovsky is the creative mind behind Hotel Transylvania. So you love him from, of course, various things like the Clone Wars, OG Clone Wars. Dexter's Laboratory. You have a lot of like his imprint on animation. So if you were all about that, then he did a whole bunch of things, including Samurai Jack. So, and I know you love Samurai Jack, so therefore you got to be all about that. But yes, number 4.
I'll don't worry. I have lots of time because I still have to watch 3 anyways. I didn't know there's a friggin' third one. But yeah, so that's our recommendation for the underrated Hotel Transylvania. A lot of people passed on that, but it's fun. So that's the news. Thank you very much, Rob. Thank you, Stu, for joining us. I didn't introduce anyone when we started, so yeah, this is Rob. This side is Rob. This is Stu, our illustrious guest, our film expertise. Highbrow rating guy, expert. I don't know what we call it. Anyways, moving on. If you didn't watch our Heroes World podcast on Sunday, we covered. What do we cover, guys? No, it's not your cue, sweetie. Get out of here.
Okay, Heroes World Sidekick. We covered a couple things. First of all, Stu, Andre, and myself, we did a review of Marvel's What If episode 1 that came out on Disney Plus, and then we talked about Michelle's favorite character, James Bond. Actually, I haven't seen Michelle in a long time. But we talked about James Bond, and with the hope of this movie supposed to be released sometime on October the 8th. Stu threw us a few questions. Who is your favorite Bond? Your favorite Bond villain? Favorite movie and favorite scene and gadget? And so it was a lot of fun. Out of the 3 of us, maybe one person wasn't as much of a Bond fan as we thought. I don't know. Hard to say. But yeah, we're looking forward to delving more into more James Bond as we get further into the fall to see if when this new movie comes out. So definitely.
Yeah, you guys definitely could have filled a whole episode of just Bond stuff.
It's you know how you talk about cars, like how you go on like a tangent about cars and like I don't know type of engines.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Shit. Yeah, this is a V452 Hemi something or other.
There's no V4
with brakes and brake pads and fluid. I go mental when it comes to like James Bond stuff. Like I could just go. I love talking about that stuff, like all the cool little things. So. Yeah.
No disputing that.
Nobody disputes that. If you think that's hard, like listen, all of James Bond is pre-Me Too movement. Let's
There's a lot of things. Just like watching everyone's favorite movie, Breakfast at Tiffany's. It's quite a rewatch.
Hey, it's like watching Delirious right now.
It is really hard to watch.
You can't really watch Eddie Murphy's Delirious in the same vein.
Is Breakfast at Tiffany's with Long Duck Dong or something? Or is that 16 Candles? I always get...
No, that's Sweet Six. That's 16 Candles.
16 Candles.
Yeah. I always get those mixed up. But anyways, yeah. Steve says Cars is life, bro.
At least that guy was Asian.
Okay.
So this is and Breakfast at Tiffany's, the guy who was playing the Asian character was Mickey Rourke. So
right. And Breakfast at Tiffany's came out in like the 50s, I believe.
Yes.
Yeah, 16 candles.
John, there was a scene in Dragon, the Bruce Lee story, where I was watching it. Don't you remember the scene where there's a guy who's the Asian guy yelling?
That's right, in the theater.
Oh, that's the movie?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, I knew I had to like.
I knew you had to channel Dragon for me.
I had to channel Dragon because I know you wouldn't have seen it, John.
Yes, I look forward to the Dragon rewatch. So
I think John's only knowledge of Breakfast at Tiffany's is that damn song from Mumford & Sons or whatever it was.
Not Mumford.
No, whatever, whoever sang that damn song. Anyways,
okay. Well,
we gotta look for. We need an old guy in the chat to tell us, who wrote that song, because that's a 1990s.
No, this song was only like in like the early 2000s.
It's Deep Blue something is the band. Breakfast at Tiffany's is
okay,
and that's
we'll let someone figure that out, or one of you guys.
No, that's the name. I got it.
Well, yeah, you're right. Okay. 1995. So you are right.
Look at you, Stu.
90. It's like it's like 94, 95. Yeah, I was thinking. I'm like.
But think about it, that song came out around the same time, like Nirvana and Pearl Jam. Like obviously it got lost in the shuffle. And came out
oh no, it was very popular. That song was a classic.
So Rob just said it's on par with Nirvana and Pearl Jam.
No, I said no.
But it got lost in the shuffle.
Yeah,
it was part around the same time. Like that's crazy.
It was part of the Hootie and the Blowfish wave. So you got to remember when Hootie was going on. There was these other songs these other 90s band like Blind Melon and all that stuff that had the same type of vibe.
Yeah.
Rob as a DJ, he didn't play this music. He played good music apparently.
In all fairness, Kurt Cobain did die in 1994 and the music stopped being good at that point. So
All right. Anyway, okay. We're gonna do a whole separate music podcast if you guys want to talk about that. But with that, let's move on to Wrath of Man, the Guy Ritchie film. What a weird segue. There's no way to segue that. Unless they played a Nirvana song during the beginning of this movie. Did they do that?
They played one licensed song in this movie, and I believe it was Folsom Prison, right? Isn't that Folsom Prison Blues by Johnny Cash? That's the only licensed song that they played.
Another surprise jail song by Johnny Cash.
That's right. Yeah.
There's a theme, John.
Yeah, so they didn't use a weirdly remixed Nirvana song like another movie we watched earlier.
I would have loved it in the
pandemic.
Cash 9 Inch Nails cover. Well, then that would be a whole new level. But that's, again, John, you probably know that song too.
Hurt.
Okay. Yeah, Hurt.
Yeah, I know Hurt. It was used in a movie. So originally this oddball, we're gonna get into this. This movie is I think it's gonna be all over the place.
Just like this podcast.
yeah. We're sorry, folks. We're all over the place. We're just trying to loosen up here. And thank you everyone for joining us. So Wrath of Man originally was supposed to drop in January, so they pushed it back for the pandemic. It released April, May in theaters, depending on where you were, and then home video in July. So we now have it available on Netflix Canada for the last couple weeks, I think. So we decided to watch this. We watched The Gentleman last week. We decided to follow it up and continue the Guy Ritchie chain. Richie. But we might have be better off going backwards instead of forwards in his filmography timeline, but we'll get to that. So the budget for the movie was 40 mil. Do you think that was a good budget for this movie, Rob?
How much was it budget? Sorry,
40 million.
You could tell, right? You could tell it's 40 mil, to be fair.
Yeah. So that puts it in.
No disrespect. It was filmed in like the UK, and then there were a couple scenes filmed in like LA, but like, it was definitely a UK film.
Yeah. You could tell it was, I guess, quote unquote lower budget. And then apparently the box office right as of this time is 104 million. So considered a success, I guess. That's not bad. I don't think you can complain about that in this environment. So let's open it up to just overall thoughts on the movie. I did set up a poll. Let me
of
see
course
what the
you
poll
did.
said. No, I set up a poll in the YouTube when we first started recording here to get people's thoughts on it. And I don't know how to get the results of it. I think it was about 80-something%. There it is. 80% of our viewers right now liked this movie and 20% didn't. So it was not like we had a ton of people voting here, but it's a neat little indication of who's watching right now. Overall thoughts. Let's go with Rob. You want to kick us off here with your overall thoughts on this movie?
Oh. Wow, get me going first.
Yeah. Do you want me to tee you up a little bit?
I like this movie. Let me say that it is definitely not this. This is tonally and visually different than what we saw last week, Guy Ritchie's The Gentleman. It is not, you know, if you did not know that Guy Ritchie had directed this, if you took it out of the credits, you would have no idea. Like Michael Bay, no, there's not a lot. There's not a lot of stuff that he relies on. Michael Bay has a very distinct style in a lot of Dutch angles and everything else in his cinematography. Guy Ritchie didn't really employ the same type of stuff. Now, I'm talking about the shots. He uses a lot of the same actors. You know, he has a fairly deep repertoire, but he seems to kind of pick the same few to appear in his movie. I watched it twice in the last 24 hours. The first time I saw it last night, it was pretty late, and I immediately started to feel like a little bit tired and lethargic. It was about midnight or so, and I was like, man, I watched it again today. I have to say, I actually enjoyed it and appreciated the movie more on the second time going through. Last night, there was something that was kind of eating away at me, and I couldn't figure out what it was about this movie. And when I watched it this morning, within the first 15, 20 minutes, I was like, oh, this is Guy Ritchie's take on Rashomon, right? He is doing his Akira Kurosawa Rashomon, right? And that's exactly what this movie. And then I enjoyed it, like this movie even more. Like I was like, oh, okay, cool. Like I like that type of story. I like Rashomon, right? I enjoy that movie. I like seeing it employed well. Like a lot of directors will try to mimic that style. Excuse me, and it's not always done successfully. I thought this way it was done well. There's only 4 chapters. You have 4 different points of view. They didn't go in different directions. Like they didn't add more players to it to make, even more POV retelling of the storyline. But overall, I liked it. Jason Statham is known for his martial arts and his crazy style and his frenetic energy. I mean, you look at Crank, you look at The Transporter for his fighting, you look at what he did with Hobbs and Shaw in the Fast movies, and Expendables. He played very reserved, brooding kind of guy, and there was no martial arts. He wasn't kicking, he wasn't fighting. It was all gunplay.
He did a little bit.
Well, yeah, when he tried to break free in the end, right? When he spun the gun around and shot the guy in the foot. But there was no like fast movement martial arts.
He usually his trademark is extravagant kicks and
and there was
some
very So overall, I quite appreciated this movie a lot more than I think I anticipated, because I remember we talked about this. You were very hyped for this movie. And then the reviews kind of came out, and we were like, "Whoa, we're out." But I'm glad I didn't pay for it. I don't know if that's a marker for anything, but I'm happy.
It is a big thing.
Yeah.
Okay, Rob. Before you go on, so since everything is now streaming is king, right? So it's almost like you got to have a really good intro because you mentioned the intro already and kind of the lead in. So basically, what happens is when you're scrolling through your Netflix, you pop on a film, you watch the first 5 minutes of it, catches you, great. If not, do you think this movie really had a good intro, or did you just stick with it because you knew it was Guy Ritchie? Because the intro scene is, it opens up with the 2 guys talking about like coffee machines or something like that. Do you think that intro cut it?
Well, it interested me because, and it's funny you mentioned that, because I was watching it and the angle of the camera is in a funny position when the guy gets into the truck and they're talking about making the coffee, right?
Yeah.
And when the guy goes to lift something up, the camera goes up with him. But a lot of this section, so a lot of the section of the camera is covered by the back
because it gets revealed later what's going on. But you flipping through your Netflix, is that going to catch you? I feel like it wasn't as strong of an intro.
Yeah, I enjoyed it. I was like, that intrigued me about why he was making that shot. But that's the way my brain works. The average person, Stu likes to say normie. If we had a normie watching this, like if my wife watched it, she'd be like, "What is happening?" Like I don't know.
I think most normies would check out because the dialogue. Maybe Guy Ritchie is really good at writing, dialogue in his native kind of like setting, but writing 2 Americans chatting maybe didn't quite work. Let's get Stu's thoughts in here. Stu, first thing, I'll open it up with a question for you. Is this a heist film or is this a revenge film? And what did you feel like overall?
It was straddling the lines between both. And it felt like there wasn't much direction to it. It was I get the little segues in 3 acts, and it's kind of smooshing it together. But man, oh man, I wish I had a little more purpose. Like I look back, and maybe it's because we watched The Gentleman last week and it completely compare it to this one, where The Gentleman's through line is just more, I guess, flushed out in a sense, where I didn't need everyone's POV. And as much as I enjoyed watching the heist characters and their backgrounds, like, see, they're not bad guys. I'm just like, oh man, I would rather just be one-dimensional bad guys. Like, I don't need them to be like, well, shucks, we weren't taken care of by the government, and we're back here. We can't find jobs. We got to support our families, and the rule is if anyone goes out, it's all go to our family. I'm like, this is all of a sudden become a whole different movie where I don't want to care about these people. And Guy Ritchie's trying to make me have some sort of feeling. I'm like, these are non-discriminate bad guys. And then I also have another bad guy, which, H, which that whole segue of like Bullet was like, you're gonna be all H. I'm like, this is the dialogue we're having right now. Yeah. Like, there's some snappy dialogue, some really good one-liners. Yeah. But then when it goes like HJ, I'm like, I'm gonna just call you H. And I'm like, what is
Hill,
it? Men in Black?
H. I'm gonna call you H.
Yeah. Like just why don't you just call him Hill? Like, how many other Hills are part of this company? Yeah. So I was like, this is
we don't want you to mix with Hill over there, so we're gonna call you H.
Yeah,
because I'm out of ideas. No one else is called a letter.
Like,
in this
it's
crew.
The most unoriginal like nickname. It's kind of like, I'm gonna call you Duke. It's like, no, there's only 2 Dukes, and that's it. You can't. No one else should be called Duke.
Well, what was one of the guys? One of the guys was called like something Sweat or something. Like, I don't remember. It was
like Holt McCallany, the guy that's in it. I love him from Mindhunter. Like, that voice, his cadence. Like, I just every time I see him, I think of him and like in Mindhunter, and that's one of my favorite shows. Yeah. But I look up the way they utilize all these characters. They were jamming so many people in this movie, and that's the other part too. We can talk about characters, like actors. I'm like, wow, you're in this movie. You're in this movie. Like, all these people. I'm like, wow, there's a lot of people in this movie. But I just felt that after, and I made a comment too about it. I watched this movie when it first came on VOD like months ago, and when I watched it, I'm like, yeah, it's fine. And then now rewatching again, I'm like, oh, this is not a good film. Like, it's in terms of, I probably will never watch it again if I didn't have to. Wow. To Rob's point, if I was paying for it, I'd be like, man, I could have bought a pizza instead. Would have been more happy about that one. And don't get me wrong, like, it had a few moments, and we can talk when we get to talk about favorite moments. It had a few set pieces that I was like, okay, cool. But for hour, like almost a 2-hour movie, I just went.
It was kind of long, yeah.
It was kind of long, and there was a lot of like pomp and circumstance for that didn't need to be done for Jason Statham's character. I'm like, I get it, you're a bad guy, you're a gangster. Like, do I need the whole like walking through hallways and like your minions saying like you're a bad at? Like, your actions already killing dudes.
That was a whole act of the movie.
Quickly.
That was one of the entire.
You didn't need a whole act to do it. You could have done it through like, to Rob's point, license another Johnny Cash song and use that as a montage of them walking through killing people, and it could have been done within 5 minutes. Like, it was just really like, I get it, you're an unsavory person, but that didn't make me want to cheer for you anymore. Like, it didn't make me like the character anymore. Like, I get it, your son died, but man, like, I just liked you even more as a character. So, needless to say,
Stu's criticisms are valid. Like, they're all valid points and stuff like that. I had a lot of fun with it. Like, I agree with everything that Stu has said. Yeah, there's a lot in there. You're like, what the heck? But for me, the sum of its parts as a whole are just, well, that means that's double, but the sum of its parts were fabulous. Like, I really enjoyed.
I think you probably have a little more appreciation of what he was doing. I guess with the shots and the setup and things like that. Whereas a lot of, like, for me, for like the lack of humor in this movie really, I think, really hurt it, because you watch all his other movies, a little bit like we'll get into Jason Statham, but his character had, like Stu said, a bunch of one-liners, but they were met with people going, "Huh? What? Are you serious?" Type, like kind of like, "Are you joking? Are you not joking?" Like, and there was no kind of reaction to that humor for me. Especially when Snatch rock and roll, Lock, Stock, and Two Smoking. Those all have like that kind of witty. Even King Arthur, it has like this kind of witty, silliness going on. But this one was so serious. Even that music, like the music they kept playing was like the most serious music they could come up with. He's like the composer. Hey, come up with this really serious music we can play over all these very serious scenes, so that no one cracks a smile or something like that. I don't know.
John, you nailed the nail on the head. It felt like the Schwarzenegger movie Commando, where they played that one song over and over with the steel drum, and I'm like, is that the same song? Like, man, it's like the same type of orchestral, like just sad mix. And I'm like,
I have the soundtrack, and you can only listen to it for so long because it is nonstop oil drums. Which shout out to oil drums. I love hearing oil drums. But let's
only in the summertime with a mojito in your hand, or
maybe you might be right. Yeah, maybe it needed more fun in the sun kind of style. But yeah, I think I was kind of like Rob. I was kind of like at the beginning, I was kind of like okay, and then it kind of gets to this point where pieces start falling together. I'm like, okay, this is really cool. I'm really digging it. And then the kind of ending just kind of like fell flat for me. So if the ending, I don't know, if the ending finished a little stronger, then I'd probably be more on Rob's side. But I'm leaning a little more towards stupid.
It was such a letdown, that ending. It was like, what was that terrible Nicolas Cage movie? It was like Snake Eyes. It was like this whole build up to the movie, and then the end, it's like, here it is.
Yeah, I don't know if there's a way to. Yeah, I don't even know if there's a way to fix it. So let's get into.
What when you're saying the ending, are you talking about the final, like him and Scott Eastwood, that interaction?
Just the whole thing. We'll get to it when we talk about scenes, I think. Okay. So we'll kind of pick this movie apart a little bit. Thank everybody for joining us and sticking with us. I hope you I hope you enjoyed the movie, or at least had fun watching it with us. So we're going to talk a little bit about the cast, and then we'll kind of go into our favorite scenes and kind of weaknesses of the movie, and then we'll talk overall about Guy Ritchie and maybe a little bit about Jason Statham and other things like that. So I'm going to pop on the screen the cast. And we'll just see if there's anyone kind of that you do want to speak about. Stu already mentioned a couple of the members of the cast, but I'll let Rob kind of open it up. So I've got the cast list here. So obviously Jason Statham, Jason Statham, whatever you want to call him, as H. Like come on, H, come on. But Rob, Jason Statham, did you really like him in this movie, or could he have been replaced with somebody else, you think?
Oh yeah, Yes, he could have been replaced with somebody else. You know what? Listen, you could have thrown Liam Neeson in that. You could have thrown Colin Farrell. Colin Farrell as brooding Colin Farrell. He could. So I'm going to take away the Liam Neeson thing. Colin Farrell probably would have done maybe even a bit of a better job.
You could have done Colin Firth, and it would have been better.
Get out of here, man.
No, 100%.
I'm just glad though that Jason Statham did something a little bit different that didn't play into his typical stereotype. Which is, I'm not taking anything away from him. It was just
he was still very same guy. He was still very much himself. He was still very invincible. He could drive, he could shoot, he could fight.
Same character from Fast 9.
Yeah,
a badass military guy who just shoots and kills everyone on sight.
He did take some injuries though. He did get shot, like he got shot down twice. We'll talk about whether he's Wolverine and healing factor or whatever.
Just like he got punched by Vin Diesel. Like that's like the same
but he also did struggle in one fight. I think he's one fight where his helmet gets smashed and stuff like that, which you usually don't see him do. He usually beats everybody down.
Yeah, it was Mother's Milk that took him out almost.
With very little effort. But Rob, do you see anyone else in this cast that really stood out to you? I'll let you maybe pick one.
Well, I know that. I know that Stu mentioned Holt McCallany. Yep. I'm a big fan of Mindhunter. I thought Eddie Marsan, who played his boss at the drive. I don't know if you've got it on the.
Yeah, I think he's down here. Oh, he might not be on here, but he was. We just saw him in The Gentleman.
We saw him in The Gentleman, right? Yeah. But he was the guy that unfortunately had.
You don't have to go, John. It's fine.
But he was so funny when he was like, when they're having that conversation with Rob. What's his face? Rob Delaney, right, from Deadpool 2.
Yeah.
Mustachio Deadpool 2. When he's in there, and after he H. Is the second, he thwarts the second attempted robbery or whatever. The guy runs away. Remember, he's like, the guy just left, and he goes, "Why are you?" Rob Delaney says, the owner of the company, is like, "Why are you harassing this guy?" And he's like, "I think he may be a psychopath." Like, just the way he made that delivery, I was pissing my pants laughing. That was just really funny. So I give it up to him. Obviously, I'm going to say Rob Delaney. I didn't understand what the hell Andy Garcia was doing there. I thought it made no difference.
That's what you call a 2-day shoot.
Yeah,
he was there for 2 days.
Daryl De Silva, I would shout him out too as H's right-hand guy pre. He's the guy that had that wicked. Yep. He's not on this list either. He had that wicked white beard, the nice the beard, the nice shaped beard with the white hair.
He was the guy you thought it was his boss for a second, and then
and he was really cool. But I am gonna say honorable dismention to Post Malone. This is like, I feel like this is like the second movie that we've seen with that stupid fool. And I'm just like, I'm like, what? He was in another movie, and he was like a gangster, and he was
in Spencer Confidential with Mark Wahlberg.
Yeah, no, there was. Yeah, I thought, but anyways, I can't handle this guy.
I believe him and was it Nicki? Who was the person in Fast 9? Was it in the
Cardi B?
Cardi B. They both deserve the honor of never being in a movie ever again.
No, I would definitely watch Cardi, but Post Malone when he was like,
are you kidding me, John? Don't
SMID and he got shot in the face. I'm like, that's what you get. That's what you get for saying something like that when someone's got a gun pointed at your face. So I thought that was a fitting end for him. Stu, you mentioned Holt McCallany as one of your favorite cast members. Anything to say about Jeffrey Donovan? Burn Notice guy? 7
seasons of Burn Notice, baby. He has range. He was really good. I like Jeffrey Donovan a lot. I hope
if you need someone to explain something, because that's all he did in Burn Notice. He explained how shit works.
I've never seen that show.
It is the first season is just
first couple seasons really good.
It was really good, and then Kobe Bell shows up from season 4 to 7, and then Bruce Campbell just plays Sam Axe, who's just great. Nonetheless, Jeffrey Donovan does really good at doing the multiple different accents and different characters in that show. He does what he's supposed to do here. Again, he's the Sarge. He does exposition. He does it well. Again, he's kind of that guy who's the calming voice, and the character that when you went, and that's why he felt kind of out of place. I would rather Jeffrey Donovan be the scheming bad guy. Like really, at that point, like
he kind of came out of nowhere, and then he was the leader. It's almost like this movie. Yeah. Stumbled into another movie.
Honestly, I know a lot of people get him confused with Walter Goggins, and honestly, if Walter Goggins was in this role instead, it probably would have been better. Because Walter Goggins is like the bad guy in like Justified and in all those movies. If he was the guy instead of Jeffrey Donovan, Walter Goggins would be like talking about how they need to rob banks or whatever. It's like, yeah, it's for the kids. Like that. The way that the nuance of him saying it's about family and the way that he could do it, you would think, well, it's not really for them, it's for us. But the way when Jeffrey Donovan does it, it's earnest and like, oh, it's really for the family. I'm like, oh, now this is about real people, and rather than Walter Goggins like, yeah, it's for my people. So and there's just the weird casting notes that I think you just need a little more of a villainy character. And then Josh Hartnett, another shout out to him. He was playing a character I've never seen him before, really stretching his dynamic range when he was.
I feel like he was the only character I wanted to see more. Like when he got taken out by Bullet so quickly, he's like, oh, come out, it's me. And then he just comes out and gets blown away. I was like, that's it? That kind of sucks. I would have liked to
Bullet kills everyone, kills all the people, right? So it's one of those things where, but he did show a different skill in terms of his fear and all the other stuff, and it's just not necessarily what you see from Josh Hartnett. So I was like, hey, great, this is unique.
What about we'll just wrap it up with what about Scott Eastwood as the main bad guy? How do you feel about him?
He's as memorable as his performance in Fast and Furious. It was just like it was there. He's there.
He did look menacing. They put a scar on his face and everything.
Ooh, honestly, my wife said it best, where he's looking like his dad as the more he ages, and honestly, just
everyone's waiting for that point where he looks like a Western cowboy.
Put him in a room like Kramer for like 8 hours a day with cigarette smoke and age him up 10 years, and he's gonna look amazing. Just 10 years older. Scott Eastwood's gonna be a fantastic grizzled looking actor, and just don't say anything. Like that's it. I don't want you to talk.
Yeah, I don't understand why. I mean, this guy's been around for quite a long time, and he's taken some really interesting roles. And I don't mean interesting like, oh, that's interesting. Like, why would he do that? And I guess he's just building a portfolio. But you see him in some of these, like he's the fourth stringer in a war movie, or as a Navy SEAL or whatever. I know that John's, it was with the Kaijus and Del Toro movie, whatever it's called, Pacific Rim 2, right? Yeah.
He was in that?
Yeah, but it's just like
I didn't even know.
Andre's favorite movie, by the way.
I didn't mind that. I didn't mind that movie.
Like, are we going to get a Scott Eastwood starring? Like, I'm starting to question whether or not this guy has the gravitas to be able to be a lead. I just don't know.
He was in Suicide Squad. Don't forget Scott Eastwood was in that
in the first movie.
Yeah, not the Suicide. He was in Suicide Squad. Yes, he also had probably his most memorable acting gig.
So he always plays a character we forget.
Yes, although his most memorable piece was probably he was in a music video with freaking Shake It Off. That girl, what's her name? I'm forgetting the name.
Shakira.
No,
Taylor Swift.
Where he didn't say a word. He just had to look really dashing, and then that was it. Taylor Swift music video.
Well, yeah, but hang on a second. Keanu Reeves did the exact same thing for Paula Abdul. So,
Tyrese was in a Monica video, so
nobody cares.
It's a trend. You son of a bitch. Anyways, okay, let's go over casting. So yeah, mixed reviews for this movie, or mixed feelings for this movie. I think overall, favorite scenes. Let's break down our favorite scenes. Everybody in the chat, let us know favorite scenes that you liked in this movie, or just even favorite moments. Like Rob stated earlier, the movie is broke down into 4 kind of parts, which are preceded by title cards. So what do you got for favorite scenes or scene in this movie, Rob? Do you have something on deck?
For me, I really enjoyed the last 40 minutes, like the whole the
final heist.
It's almost a third of that movie, right? When he goes to work that day, and he's like, "Listen, Bullet's talking about, I have friends," and you're like, "Okay." And because throughout the entire course of the movie, now maybe other people figured he was the inside guy, but
I didn't. I thought it was Josh Hartnett.
I thought it was Hartnett. I wasn't, because I was like, well, that kind of makes it a bit too obvious. And then I was like, they try to do the fake out with the girl, but I like that whole entire sequence. Like, again, Jason Statham's tied down, and he's, for about 10 minutes of that whole entire heist. And as it's happening, they're doing the shot of them explaining it with the toy trucks. And I don't know, for me, that whole I like good exposition. I like good but I like good shootouts, right? I'm not trying to compare it to
Heat, like, right? Yeah, I was going to say
I'm not trying to compare it to Heat, because the Heat shootout is phenomenal, but I like good artistic shootouts, not just like as if I'm playing Call of Duty and everybody's just fucking squirting, shooting everything else all over the place, right? Like,
you're playing a different game, buddy, but whatever.
The wobbly cam.
He's playing the power washing simulator. That's what he's doing, John.
It's Splatoon.
Available on Steam, where you can power wash stuff. That's what he's talking about.
But at any rate, I thought that they could have gone that route. They could have gone the gratuitous, gunshot, shootout. And I felt like Guy Ritchie was trying to be a bit more artistic in that. So for me, I like that. I like that quite a bit.
Yeah. So there's not too many to choose from. So I'm curious, Stu, what do you got for favorite scenes, I guess? Because Rob took the main, that's the main one, the whole finale heist,
the whole third act.
On its own, like I did say, like, the ending didn't live up to it, but if you just watch that ending scene, that's a pretty good scene. Yeah, go ahead, Stu.
I didn't mind the second act when they're going the montage of like him and the guys is like, boss, we've looked under every stone, like we did everything we're supposed to, like there's nothing left, there's like no one, there's like
scorch the earth.
Like I liked that scene on its own. If that was a movie by itself and they just extended it, it'd be probably a better movie, just going through that portion of it. It got really dark real fast, where I'm like, is this necessary? But just there was a couple fun scenes of dialogue just between him and the minions. And I did like the other short conversation that the character, I think it's called, surprise, I remember, Stuart, and then Diana, where I think the guy was like this guy's like a dark horse. Like he's like, this man, I don't care what you think. And Diana's like, what do you mean? And he's like, this guy's overqualified, and like it's ridiculous.
He's a dark spirit.
He's like a dark, like, yeah, he's this cat's overqualified for the game. He's got history. And then she's like, we're all overqualified for this game, and we all got history. So it's kind of like that new sense of like the reason why everyone's doing this job. It's so dangerous, but it pays well. And there's a reason why everyone is there, which is kind of at that point in the movie, you didn't know what was going on. So it could be kind of led you where any of these people could be, doing some nefarious things. But then it just became Bullet. And I'm just like, okay, well, sure.
John,
like even the way that the bullet was dispensed at the end of the movie, I'm like, this is brutal. Like, this is so like anticlimactic. Like, too slow, old man. I was like,
I thought it was okay. When the plan was unraveling, it's not like that was I think it's just the overall, like, it just felt like it went all over the place. So again,
it
like
was foretold, Stu, in the beginning when he said, he goes, the irony being called, because I don't move as fast as a bullet. So it was already set up.
So that was the punch scene. Yeah. That was the punchline of the joke in the movie that didn't have any jokes in it. We've already mentioned the Post Malone scene at the beginning. So the first dispatch of guys trying to heist the truck. So my favorite kind of moment is like a little bit just before Rob's kind of finale is where they revealed, like Rob mentioned, the shot that you see in the truck at the beginning when they reveal the other angle of all the stuff that went wrong, the guys cutting into the truck and why they started shooting everybody and all that kind of stuff. And then they also unravel the whole Jason Statham thing. So the kind of reveals is where it really felt Guy Ritchie to me. It's like, oh, now all this stuff is falling into place. And then all of a sudden it turned into like a crazy high octane heist.
I will say I was really struggling with the scene I chose. And I'm very quickly going to say the other one that I really loved is right kind of in the middle of the movie, when they're doing the flashback of the guys, as Stu was saying, they're trying to scorch the earth, try to find them. And the guy with his right-hand man with the wicked hair and the coiffed white hair and beard, he sits in the car and he smokes a cigarette and he gets out. And it's a tracking shot as he goes up the stairs and he goes into the industrial area, and that's where they're talking. That's where like they had those guys bound and gagged because like they were.
He's on the phone, and I think you don't see the other side of the conversation. And he's like, okay. Yeah. And then he walks through the whole scene.
Yeah. And to me, I loved that tracking shot in that scene. I thought it was great. So I just wanted to give a shout out to that one.
Yeah, I think I just have to say that, this movie specifically is missing a lot of the Guy Ritchie flair, because Guy Ritchie didn't write this movie by himself. There was a lot as a collaboration.
It's a remake, right?
It's a remake of a French movie.
It's there's some Guy Ritchie, as much as why I think when I watched The Gentleman and we discussed it last week, there's so much Guy Ritchie flair and jokes, and you can see the freneticness of it, and it's him. And this is like he was trying to fit in a mold in a box, and you're like, oh, he directed it, but it didn't seem like it was a Guy Ritchie movie. So that's kind of the difficulty of this movie, where it's like he's trying to do Guy Ritchie things, but he's confined, and when he does add it, it seems out of place. So
So Stu's already touched on kind of the weaknesses of this film. Was there anything that you felt was not as strong as it could be, Rob? Like, anything you would have cut from the movie to tighten it up, or it's hard to pinpoint? It's fine if it's hard.
I think it's really hard because a lot of the storylines are repeated from the different angles. This is the Rashomon style, so I don't know what you can cut to make it tighter without then sacrificing. You've sacrificed one scene. It's one scene done 4 times. So I don't know what you could cut. I will say, though, I agree with what you said earlier. The score of this movie, I think, does not do the movie service. I think it adds to a bit of the slower length that you feel when watching this movie. I understand the idea of the brooding. You don't want anything too excited. Like, you throw any other, you take the Guns Akimbo score and you throw it on this movie. This movie is a whole different movie, right? Like, it's really frenetic and everything else. That I just think that score, while it was haunting, maybe should have only been used for certain things. It lasted the entire movie, and I feel that is probably what made the pace of the movie feel so slow. So I would change the score.
Yeah. And any other weaknesses, Stu, or I think you
I think I bashed this movie enough for the time.
Yeah.
my thoughts are very clear in terms of what I just.
I would say it's I think it's a combination of maybe he's not able to play in the wheelhouse that he's normally used to, and setting it in America. Maybe he just doesn't know the culture as well. So I feel like a lot of the dialogue, especially like when those guys are talking in the locker room and all that kind of stuff, it felt really forced, like the kind of jokes. And then it was like, you could even kind of tell when Jason Statham goes in there, he had like this really weird way of talking. Almost everyone was just kind of like, huh? Did he just insult me? I don't get it. You know, and that felt like a lot of
fish out of water.
Yeah. Like the dialogue in the movie, like he doesn't belong in this movie or something like that. It's almost like he's literally like transported from another movie, and then they combine it with other stuff. But let's move on from the weaknesses. Let's talk about, so Rob, you've given this a positive review pretty much.
Yeah.
Where does this rank in your Guy Ritchie films? Is it in the top, in the bottom? Is it somewhere in the middle?
I'd say middle.
Yeah.
I'd say the middle. He's done a lot worse.
Yeah,
he's done.
Yep.
Like Sherlock Holmes. I've mentioned I've never seen the Sherlock Holmes movies. Does this have a similar feel to this? Because some people compare that to his I don't know if you would call it a sellout type movie or just his Hollywood.
I hate
version.
that shit. I think that's stupid. That's a dumb argument.
Well, his Hollywood, I guess, movies. So King Arthur, Sherlock Holmes, and that kind of stuff.
You work your entire life to become a sellout. So that's why I don't understand. Like, people are like, oh, I don't want to sell out. Like, oh, you don't want to sell a stadium? Isn't that what your entire life is about? Or a movie theater, or get a big budget? Like, this whole philosophy of like, don't be a sellout is this punk philosophy that's so asinine and dumb.
I hate it. Yeah, it's stupid.
It's stupid. Like, don't sell. Who people who basically didn't make it call other people sellouts, the whiners. So that's why I don't.
So wait a minute. You worked hard to go to film school to get your first and to make a film, and somebody bought it for you,
and not sell it.
Hey, we're going to give you more money to make another movie, and you're a sellout. What are you talking about? Give me a break.
That is pretty much like the definition of an artisan. Like, you make something, you sell it.
Yes.
Like, that is how business works, John. You buy something and then you sell it, and then that's how you make money. So,
and then if you sell out of it, you are then technically a sellout.
Yeah.
So just like anyways.
So Stu, do you slot this in the middle or somewhere towards the bottom?
It's 100%
in the middle.
Like, it's not his worst movie. Push comes to shove, I could watch it again, but it's not like I'll be clamoring to do it again. I think I would be really interested to get Rob's take in about 2 months from now, watching it full, not at midnight or late, and watch it again to see what his thoughts are, because I definitely on second viewing really took it down a peg. So for me, it's like I became more negative watching the second time around than I did the first time, but I just noticed more of the issues the second rewatch than I would have on the first time. I was like, oh, this is Guy Ritchie, it's fine. And then, like I said before, when Snatch and Lock, Stock came out in 2000 and 1998, it was so fresh and new. Then it was The Gentleman in 2019. It was like such a nice like breath of fresh air, because he didn't do that style for a long time. And I was happy to get that type of trilogy. And then this movie came out 2 years later in 2021. And I'm like, oh yeah, I guess this is the reason why you picked this project, because, you can just, it's a factory built movie and you can just film it and get it over with, as opposed to writing it and being the time and artistry and required to make a full film by yourself and to do the screenplay by yourself. This is, you're adapting someone else's work. So you could definitely tell. Nonetheless, it's definitely in the middle.
I think I actually unfortunately have to slot it towards the bottom, because I haven't seen stuff like Sherlock Holmes and some of the other movies. Yeah, so I haven't seen Swept Away. So I'm comparing it to Lock, Stock, Snatch, Rock and Roll, The Gentleman, stuff like that. So it's definitely going at the bottom of my list until I see. Okay, yeah, it's close to Aladdin. I think I would watch. Oh, I don't know. Aladdin's got some fun stuff going on. Anyway.
Your boy Will Smith, John. Your boy Will Smith.
We'll get to Aladdin when we talk about what we're gonna do next week. Maybe we're gonna continue the Guy Ritchie train, and we find out if Rob's never had a friend like
Rob. Did you not
like
watch
me.
Aladdin, the new one?
No.
Oh, interesting. Oh, Rob hasn't seen it. Maybe we should do it. All right. Final question before we wrap up.
Markham's Own, Unionville alumnus, the Canadian, as Aladdin. You gotta represent. You gotta support.
Will Smith is a genie. But okay, so final question. Is this your favorite Jason Statham movie, or Statham, or however you want to pronounce it?
No,
look, everyone's shaking their head. Do you have a favorite Jason Statham movie that you would recommend 100%. Over this? All right, let's Stu go first and give Rob a second to think about it.
2002's classic, The Transporter. Frank Martin. It is a masterpiece in terms of fighting. It takes place in Europe. John 100% believes in that car. The maintenance that the guy takes in that car, John is already shaking his head going, he can remember every scene, the weight, the counterbalances, the way the license plate flips over, the driving sequences, the fighting sequences. Statham, a couple good one-liners, not overdoing it, not too much. It was like very limited in terms of what he's doing. We have it is his best work. And without a doubt, like, you can watch a Transporter, just one. You don't need to watch two, over and over and over. And there's that couple of scenes, including the barrel scene, where you're just like, dude, this is incredible.
Lewis Lederer nailed it on. I think that might have been his directorial debut.
No, it was it was Corey Yun. Lewis Lederer was the artistic director.
Oh, okay.
So then this kind of spearheaded him to get a bunch of other things.
Okay.
But because I think after that he was able to get, I think it led him to get the Hulk movie shortly after. I think so. I think it was The Transporter, and then what did he? Yeah, he did Incredible Hulk in 2008.
Yeah. So, Transporter goes back to 2002. Rob, do you have a choice that is not The Transporter?
Well, that's tough, because I was looking at the list again of the movies that I've seen, and I was like, well, after The Transporter, he did a lot of like rinse, recycle, repeat. Like The Mechanic is The Transporter, right? I mean, that's the reality. Although that scene of him hanging underneath the suspended the pool was pretty cool. I'm gonna go with something that I think is absolutely, and you guys are both gonna be like, what the hell? But it was a lot of fun, and I was laughing my ass off to this movie, and I thought it was I think I watched it twice. I'm gonna go with The Meg. Like the whole
I've never seen it, so everyone else comment on Rob's choice of The Meg.
Oh my god.
I saw people were saying Crank. People were saying Crank. Yes, the first Crank movie is crazy fun, and it's bananas. But I'm gonna go because The Meg is just so absolutely stupid that sometimes you need these stupid monster movies to, you can't always have crepes. Sometimes you got to have a dried old piece of pancake just to get you through the day.
I remember watching Crank. Was it Amy Smart, his girlfriend, in that movie? I think it was.
It was. Yeah, I think.
Yeah,
so.
It was a super fun ride. Chev Chelios. The name just is so good. But man. Rob, to be fair, I probably, if you picked The Transporter, I would have definitely went with Crank as my
Crank.
movie.
Not Crank 2, High Voltage, or whatever it was.
No, Crank 1 is so ridiculous and fun.
Yeah.
Crank 2 ramps it up because I think, doesn't he have the fake heart in Crank?
Yes, he does. They put the fake heart in and stuff like that.
Yeah, I think it's got Biling in it and stuff like that.
Yeah. Oh, it's so stupid, but it's fun. Yeah.
Gord says Sarah loves Spy. Can I choose Collateral? Is that a valid option?
No, he's like 3 seconds of that movie.
Well, the obvious choice is Snatch. So I think that's his funniest, one of his funniest roles. He has.
I thought you were gonna go with War. I thought you were gonna go pick War.
No, I wish. I had high hopes for that. That was him and Jet Li, I believe.
Yeah.
Because
their second meeting, I think he was also in the one, wasn't he?
Yep, he was.
Yeah. So the second time teaming up, and it proceeded to be awful as well. So that was kind of.
I was thinking, John, you'd pick In the Name of the King, where he played a knight with the, that was the thing. No, but to Collateral, to your point, John, he cameoed as Frank Martin at the very end of the movie.
He cameos as the transporter. I think he's at the very beginning. I think he gives Tom Cruise the suitcase, which leads him into this whole.
But that doesn't count as come on, come on.
I love Collateral.
At the comments, you could have picked any of the Expendable movies. He's
no, I don't like those, man. Unfortunately, I wish I did like those.
You did.
It's time for Rob's Stallone impression. But it has to be Snatch as the Turkish. They're like, "What's in the car?" And he's like, seats and a steering wheel. It's like he's just so funny in it. And he's like he's a narrator for the movie as well, right?
Now, now he is supposed to be in The Man from Toronto.
Yeah.
That's
coming. It's the Ryan Reynolds project, right?
No. It's Kevin Hart, I think, isn't it?
It is Kevin.
Oh yeah, no, you're right. Him and Kevin Hart, yeah.
Yeah, so I'd be interested to see how that actually goes as The Man from Toronto, Kevin Hart and Jason Statham. So I'm interested to see how that one works out.
Oh, someone mentions Death Race. I do actually own that on
why
Blu-ray. I don't know.
Hobbs and Shaw, John. You're not a fan of
Hobbs and Shaw was junk. I think Italian Job. Lewis mentions Italian Job. What's his name? Handsome Rob or something like that.
Thank you.
Handsome Rob. Yeah.
Oh well, yeah, Handsome Rob. Look at that, Rob. That should have been your choice. He plays me in the Italian Job. Come on.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I guess that wraps it up for Wrath the Man. I don't think me and Stu are going to be watching it again, but Rob, I think, appreciates it for its cinematic setup. I hope you guys liked it. If you didn't like it, then
sucks to be you.
Sorry. Hopefully it was free on Netflix and you didn't go to the theaters or buy it. So that'll wrap up Wrath of Man. So we're going to continue the Guy Ritchie train and we're going to talk Aladdin next. No, I'm just joking.
The fear in his eyes. He was like doing something. He's like, what?
Yeah.
What?
So what we are going to do next week is we're actually going to go back to our roots and we're going to go a little something nerdy, comic related. Rob, what classic MCU before MCU was a thing, or I don't know if you call it MCU. What do you call it?
It's what's
it
in
was
Marvel.
It was the Marvel universe.
Yeah,
Marvel movies. There wasn't a universe; it was just Marvel movies. Wait, we actually didn't talk about this. Is this one that you sent me a text on a few days ago?
We're doing with your boys. You mentioned it You mentioned it during the last podcast where you guys were talking about What If and James Bond. You mentioned this movie.
We did.
It's about ice skating uphill.
Yep. Ice skating uphill? What?
You're awful, Rob. All right, Stu, what are we doing next week?
Wait, what? Ice skating uphill? What was I didn't mention anything about ice skating uphill.
Okay, when you rewatch the movie, you will know. Look, everyone else got it. But
okay, I just wanted to make sure. I had it on the iPad. I was like, "Is this?" But I don't remember mentioning it in yesterday's podcast. Did I? Okay, maybe I did.
You did.
Oh, I did. You're right. Hey guys, so listen, guys and ladies and girls, how are you? Next week we are going back all the way back.
Look, everybody knew it from that quote I threw out.
Listen, buddy, I was drinking earlier. We are going back to 1998, and we are watching Blade. Starring John's boy before Tyrese, Mr. Snipes.
Passenger 51, baby.
Passenger 57, always been on black.
57, yes. Sorry.
Yeah, we are. The first 6 movies were not great, so they had to go with 57. We are going back to Blade, directed by Stephen Norrington, starring Chris Christopherson and the ever
the first billing is Chris Christopherson. Come on,
Stephen Dorff. Well, I've already mentioned Wesley Snipes. So definitely join us. It is actually, I just took a look. It is on Crave. So if you have the Crave app,
did they just add it? I was gonna say it doesn't matter if it's not streaming. You should all own a copy of this movie because this is the grandfather of everything that is dominating the market right now. This is like the beginning of all these superhero movies that we watch now. And I think it's gonna be fun to revisit that classic. Blade 2, you could do bonus work if you want. I don't think we're gonna watch all 3 movies in the trilogy, but we're gonna kind of go back and travel back and go through
watch
some of these
one and wait Blade 2 for another day.
Yeah, Blade 2 I think is on Tubi, and I think Blade 3 is on. I don't know what it's on, but I'm pretty sure you can watch that for free if you so desire.
If you really feel like you need to.
With Hannibal King, Ryan Reynolds, that was a thing.
Well, just so people want, if they really wanted to do it, all Blade movies are on Crave right now, so you can actually go and check those out if you really wanted to. But yes, we're going back to the pre-MCU before Kevin Feige had a thought about running Marvel film studios. We are back and we're going to do.
I would say, given the opportunity, I'm sure he thought about it, but given the opportunity,
there was no such thing. Shut up, Stuart. So that's what we're doing. We are looking forward to watching Blade and seeing whether or not the special effects of the blood monster of Stephen Dorff as Deacon Frost being sliced in half and pulled apart, and the blood coagulates and brings them back together, whether or not that holds up. And
spoiler alert, no, it does not.
Shout out to special shout out to speaking of John's favorite television show, The Shield. He's gonna see a very familiar face at the beginning of that movie, hanging out with Tracy Lords. So,
yep. Lemansky himself.
That's right.
I just Donald Logue is my favorite part of that entire movie. So let's shout out to Donald Logue. John's like, who is that person? I was like, oh, he played Bullock in Batman, Gotham. He was okay.
He's
a Canadian actor. He was in the
he was originally on some sitcom, right? Wasn't
Grounded for Life. He was also in Terriers, John, which I know you loved.
Terriers is fantastic.
Yeah.
But all right, my kids are trying to get out of here.
Definitely join us next week for that. And then coming up this week, John, is Andre's got the what's new in the store tomorrow.
So tomorrow. So thanks everybody for tuning in this Monday night. The Sidekick Show is live every Monday at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Thank you, Stu, for joining us. Tomorrow on Tuesday, we have Andre running down the new things at the shop. That is usually happening at 8:30 or 9 o'clock. Kind of the time fluctuates a little bit, and pending any issues with our shipments. So as long as our shipment shows up, Andre can run that show for everybody, and it's a fantastic time. He goes through everything we got in that particular day, and more things come throughout the week. Wednesday is the Heroes World Word, or Heroes Word, as Andre calls it, which he interviews other creators about creating comics and their love of comic books and all that kind of stuff. So I don't know who he's got on top this week, but very looking forward to that. On Thursday, we have So What I Miss with Rob, Chris, Patrick, and myself. Sometimes maybe not, bearing technical difficulties. People are there or not. But join us for that, for all your latest geek and nerd news updates and other fun shenanigans. And then Friday,
Andre.
Rob is not releasing any videos this week, unfortunately. He's on hiatus. Friday is Rob's book club. I guess said it again. Rob, Andre.
You know what the problem is, John? He's so handsome. You're just
I keep looking at handsome Rob. Anyways, Andre's book club. There, I got it right that time. And they're talking about probably chapters 7 through 12 of the Heir to the Empire by Timothy Zahn, the Star Wars expanded universe novel. Andre always raves about it, so definitely tune in to see what it's all about. Even if you haven't read the books, you can enjoy this particular show, and he has a bunch of special guests on him. And then we'll be back on Sunday with the Heroes World podcast. I don't know what we're doing this week, Stu. I think it's what if, and maybe Snake Eyes.
No,
we could do Snake Eyes. We could do Free Guy too. The three of us have seen it, so we'll see what we'll do. Some sort of release. I think it'll be a review of some sort.
Yeah.
Let's just acknowledge the fact that Heroes World has now become its own network.
We're trying stuff, so definitely let us know what you dig, folks. Awesome. And thank you for tuning in all the time and joining us. I hope everyone has a really good evening. Thank you again, Rob. Thank you again, Stu.
Thank you, everybody, John.
In the chat.
I'm just waiting, John. Can you do the Ryan Reynolds songs? When can we start doing just Ryan Reynolds movies on the Sidekick?
I haven't seen Van Wilder in a million years, and I know we watched it a million times back in the day.
That's the movie you're going with Ryan Reynolds, Van Wilder, not Deadpool, not Green Lantern, not the millions.
We're definitely not going with Green Lantern, Stu. Deadpool, I will entertain the thought of Deadpool and Deadpool 2. What other Ryan Reynolds could you?
We did Stupid Howard the Duck. Why do you not do Green Lantern?
Yeah.
Anyways,
I'm not watching Green Lantern again. Get out.
Sure, shit, you are.
There's an extended cut. Rob, you go buy the extended cut and we'll talk.
There are so many Ryan Reynolds films, John, where you can go into, whether it's, X-Men Origins, you could watch that gem again, The Change Up. You could do, R.I.P.D. That was a classic gem. There other romantic films.
What was the one with Sandra Bullock? I'd watch that one maybe.
The Proposal. 100% The Proposal. Yes.
Okay, I'm out.
Sandy B. The Proposal, or we can watch Definitely Maybe, Rob. That's the one with Isla Fisher and Elizabeth
definitely not.
Banks and Rachel Weisz. Mrs. 007. That's a good one. So there's a lot of or we could watch the Denzel Washington movie with Ryan Reynolds. Safe House.
What I want to say is that if people want to do a 24 movie of Bond rewatch, hit me up. I think I'm down for doing a 24 Bond movie rewatch.
You're crazy. So that's a whole show now, because you got to at least do 24 episodes.
Yeah,
at least.
Thank you. That's I know.
Plus another episode on James Bond Jr. because we have to really tip our caps to that TV show.
That's not happening. So definitely, let me know. And I'm not going to do Never Say Never Again because it's not part of the canon. So, at any rate, that's it, man.
Smoking Aces, good call. Let's talk about some Ryan Reynolds films, man. And Lewis, Cowboy Bebop's coming out. Just they had an accident on set, so they got to push everything back. But it will eventually come out. It's a matter of when. Netflix said it's going to be done. Oh yeah, Foolproof, another Canadian.
Does he still have that fake Netflix site that only has Foolproof on every single video? Because that's almost worth watching it because of that. But
I hope so. That'd be really great. Detective Pikachu, we can go back to that, Gem. There's a lot of Ryan Reynolds films.
I know people are confused. We're doing Blade next week.
we're doing Blade 1. Fraser pointed out, I think it's only a Blade 2 and 3 available on streaming. I think you have to have the Stars extension to watch it on Crave, like Rob said, because I think I did look it up earlier.
Didn't we? Before we watched Blade, didn't someone have to buy a copy of it? Rob, didn't you buy a copy of Blade at one point?
No, that was Spawn.
Right.
But everyone should own a copy of this movie, and if you don't, it's definitely worth owning. So please check it out. If you do have issues, I'll go dig up my DVDs and lend it to you if you really need to. But thank you, everybody. Lewis, how dare you not have Blade and you own a copy of King Arthur? That's so bizarre. But thank you, everybody. Thank you, Stu. Thank you, Rob. We're going to be here all night if we keep this going. So peace out, everybody. Thank you. Blade 1.
Blade
1 is the movie you're watching, not Ryan Reynolds.
You can watch Foolproof, but you're going to be very lost.